Everyone is just a reflection of ourselves. What we love about the other, we love about ourselves. What we don't love about the other has nothing to do with the other. The universe is so efficient that every moment matters. So God, nature, higher power, the universe, whatever name you want to put to that energy that is greater than yourself, has created this life to be a cosmic setup to show us what we haven't come to a place of peace and understanding with ourselves.
Hello, boys and girls, ladies and gentlemen. This is Nishant, and welcome to the Nishant Garg Show. This is a podcast about helping you live a fulfilled life, and my job on the show is to invite world-class experts to extract the practices, routines, and habits to help you live a fulfilled and abundant life. Today's guest is Janet Attwood. Janet is the co-author of the New York Times Bestseller, The Passion Test and Your Hidden Riches. As an expert on what it takes to live a passionate life, she has presented her programs as a featured speaker to hundreds of thousands of people around the world, including the Dalai Lama, Sir Richard Branson, Dr. John Gray, Jack Canfield, Lisa Nichols, Stephen Covey, Brendon Burchard, and others. For her ongoing work with the homeless and kids in lockdown detention centers, Janet received the highest award for service from the President of the United States, the President's Volunteer Service Award. Janet received the World Peace Flame Award from the Life Foundation International for her work in promoting peace. And I have an announcement to make. Do you want to learn how to live a life of meaning, inner peace, and purpose, and move through obstacles with ease? My friend Janet Attwood has written an ebook called The Miracle of Self-Love, 4 Magical Secrets for Living Your Magnificent Life, and it tells you exactly how you can do that. Janet is sharing 4 tools she has used to radically transform her life, and if you want to transform yours, then this is an ebook you must read. You can download the free ebook link in the show notes at nishantgarg.me/Janet Attwood, nishantgarg.me/JANET-ATTWOOD. She is also offering free masterclasses, and all the links can be found in the show notes at nishantgarg.me/Janet-Attwood, JANET-ATTWOOD. Without further ado, please enjoy this wide-ranging conversation with Janet. Janet, welcome to the show.
Welcome to you. I'm so happy to be here with you.
I'm super thrilled to have this conversation around passion and the mastery of self-love. While I was doing some homework on your long history of success, I found that you traveled across India and other parts of the world to interview the masters who are into this transformational spiritual background. Could you please speak something on that segment?
Yeah, I love that you asked me about that because it was a passion of mine. And actually, I didn't even know really it was a passion. I was in the middle of writing the hardcover to my book, The Passion Test, at the time. I'd written an ebook, and as I was writing, I had this very interesting aha, which was, oh my God, I have never really followed my passion. Oh my God, I'm a fake. I wrote the ebook about how to follow your passion, but I wasn't really stepping it up and stepping out there because when you're really following your passion, you don't have a safety net. You don't know what the next step is going to be. And I was always playing it safe. Like I would follow it. I would say, okay, this is what I'm passionate about. And look at all the success I've had because I knew the path. But really, when you're really following your passion, it's about a moment to moment to moment to moment. And so I sat there and I went, I can't put this hardcover book out there and not be the real deal. I want to be the teacher living the teaching. So what do I have to do? So I got real quiet and I just wrote down what is the first question when someone takes the passion test. And by the way, for those listening, the passion test is one exercise after another, after another, after another. It's all about you. It helps you to get so crystal clear that when you close your eyes, you can actually see the world you choose to create. So I did that. I wrote down the first question. When my life is ideal, I am. That's the first question in the passion test. And I started to think, okay, when my life is ideal, I am. If I could have, do, and be anything, if everyone in the whole world said yes to me, if all the doors were open, and that's the kind of mindset I want everyone to have when they're taking the passion test. So I gave that to myself. What would I be doing? And I used to travel around the world with Maharishi Mahesh Yogi, the founder of the Transcendental Meditation Program. And I did that for a number of years, and I was part of his international staff, and I remembered how much I loved that time. I mean, it was so wonderful to be in that vibration of Maharishi. It was always love. It was always refined. It was always exciting. And it felt magical. I would stand at the door. I remember sometimes standing at the door. I had a very high position with him. And I would need to go and ask him questions. And I would stand outside his door. And as I was standing there, the answer would come. I never really had to go in and ask him. I mean, it was just such a heightened awareness around him. So I thought, well, Maharishi is now in silence. He's older now and he's no longer out. But when my life is ideal, what would I love to be doing? And I thought, oh my God, I'd love to be doing that. And so I wrote down spending time with the enlightened. And I just thought, oh my God, I'd love to do that. And that was a real passion because at the time, there was no way I knew how that was going to happen because at the time I was writing I was the cover editor for a very large online magazine called Healthy, Wealthy, and Wise. I was writing my book. I mean, I had all these huge responsibilities and I thought, oh my God, I don't know how this can happen. How can this happen? But I thought, no, you've got to be the acid test. So you just have to take the first step. So the first step was telling my business partner. And I'm like, I call him up. I said, Chris, and I held my breath and I told him what it was. And he went, Janny, I think it's so great that you want to follow your passion. And then he said, and you better ask Liz and Rick of the magazine, our partners, because they might feel differently. So I did the same thing. I'm holding my breath. And they said to me, surprisingly enough, oh, you know what? We were told we needed to be very innovative, and that would be very cool if while you're interviewing all these masters that you would, be able to write about them and send us the interviews and we'll put them in our magazine. Yes, you should go. And I'm so shocked. I mean, I really was so shocked. And then I thought, okay, let's see. I'm a 5-star girl when I'm not on in an ashram, sleeping on an ashram floor. So I thought, how am I going to get enough money to go? And so I put the word out that I was putting on a tour to all over India. I decided, okay, I'm going to do a tour. And so all of a sudden, kaboom, I have all these people signed up, all these people just like, yeah, I want to go. I don't want to go. So I thought, oh my God, there's another sign. Okay, the doors are opening. And then I started asking my friends, who do you know? What masters do you know? What masters do you know? I was basically networking. And I had set up in no time at all about 25 interviews with masters. And as I was doing it, I started out with, I'm coming, I'm going to write an article. And the next thing I know, I'm saying I'm writing a book. Next thing I decide I'm going to make a movie. Right? And it's going to be called Dialogues with the Masters. And this is what I'm telling all the masters. And the doors are swinging open. Mm-hmm. And it's about 2 weeks before I am going. I have all these interviews. I have all this stuff happening. And the next thing I know, I'm in California. I'm at the first meeting of Jack Canfield's Transformational Leadership Council meeting, where he's invited about 13 of us to sit with him and create this whole organization that now has bloomed to about 200 people.
Yes.
Yeah. And while I'm there, I call my brother. And I say, I'm going to India in 2 weeks, but I'm here in California. My brother lived in San Diego, 2 hours away, with my stepmother not far, a few blocks away. I said, I should come see you guys. And they said, oh, no, Jana, I'm so glad you called. I said, why? He says, well, our stepmother's in the hospital. And I went, really? And he said, yeah, she has cancer. And so this whole thing happened, right? So I'm telling you this part of the story because that's how it started. But the best part of the story was the detour. So I'll have to leave that up to you. But that is how I started with the Dialogues with the Masters. I'll sidebar it by saying it did eventually happen. I ended up interviewing over 70 masters from all over India and Nepal. I came back with 160 hours of film footage, which I put under my bed for a year because it was too much to deal with. I was like, oh my God, because the energy that I came back with, I was so expanded that I just needed to just chill out for at least a year. Then I finally put together the Dialogues with the Masters, this whole CD, DVD set that these really famous chanting artists, David Premal and Mitten, did the music on. So this is how I started. And it was a blast. Let me tell everybody, follow your passion.
What did you learn from Maharishi and other masters back in India?
Yeah, I think the most important thing, well, there are masters and there are masters who want to be. Got it? There were very few that I felt, but what did I know? I was judging from my level of consciousness. But from my level of consciousness, I felt like, there were a handful that I would feel were the real deal. And the thing that I learned the most was the importance of your daily ritual and your daily routine. Because every one of the masters had this, you couldn't get to see them until 10 o'clock in the morning. Because why? Because they were doing their thing to fill themselves up so that they could be that enlightened human being to come out into the world. And they had this evenness. That's what I learned. The importance of deep meditation and living right and being in tune with the laws of nature and being enlightened. Enlightened just implies the ability to act without making mistakes. When you're in that zone and in that flow, you're so awake that you're a vessel through which nature speaks. You're no longer part of this human Leela, as they call it in India, which is the play, but you're being used by nature for the good of mankind. And so that was one of the things that I learned, the importance of really taking your time, doing your inner work and calling that your working hours, where you're doing your deep meditation, where you're doing your pranayama, where you do all of your rituals, so that when you come out into the world, you are fullness. And from that fullness, you can uplift humanity. I mean, who you're being speaks so loudly. The other thing that I learned, I remember one master who I went and saw in Nepal, and I had this awakening moment with him because he looked at me, and I had come all the way from the United States, and that was a separate trip. I had taken many trips, and one trip to India and Nepal, meeting this one master, he said, "You can ask one question." I'll never forget that. He traveled all the way to Nepal. He goes, "You can ask one question." Well, he didn't do it like that. He was like, "You can ask one question." I said, "Okay, so what is the most important thing I need to know?" And he said, "You are not the body. You are not the body." Kabam! Yeah, it was like this huge, oh God, it just like one of those moments where I was shaken from the tips of my toes when he said that. And what do we all do, right? We all think that I am this form, and we get so attached to this form. And when you're awakened, there is no attachment to that form. It doesn't, that you're formless, right? And you're not, that there is no death and that the soul lives on. And, that's a beautiful experience. So that was also a very important aha, that I received from these masters. And I would think the other thing is that there are different degrees of, there are little masters, and there are ones that, like Maharishi, that are, a world master. And they're all doing their part. They're all doing their role. And they're all doing exactly as they need to be of service to humanity. And what that said to me was, no role is any bigger than any role. What's important for each and every one of us is to really understand what we're here, what our gift is, and then shine in that gift. That's it. Right?
Yeah, this is a very beautiful way to explain, Janet. So after you interviewed around 70 masters in India and you came back to US, so in what ways your life had transformed after coming to US?
Nishant, that is so funny that you asked me that, because I had come back and this woman comes up to me who found out that I was the one who, I was known as the guru girl all over India. Because at that time, that was 2005, nobody was doing that. Now it's like the thing to do, go interview the masters. But I was the first. And she comes up to me and she goes, "You are Janet Attwood? You are Janet Attwood? Oh my God, how has your life changed since going and sitting with all those masters, one after the other for over 2 years?" And I stopped for a moment and I really thought about it. And I went, well, I read a lot more People magazine and I watch a lot more movies. And she looks at me like, huh? And it was so not what she wanted. She wanted this enlightened thing. But the truth of the matter is that I became I remember, and the first year was tough for some reason. And what I found later was just to go from master to master to master is an actual Vedic ritual. It's an actual technique for awakening. And I did not know this because I came back feeling like I had been in a washing machine. Seriously, just a very interesting washing machine, just inside out cleaned. And what I realized was that I couldn't censor anything. Before I could kind of like think before I talked. And then after that, everything just kind of came out. I was who I was, who I was, who I was. And I really am so happy about that now. But it was very awkward at first because I would say stuff and I would go, oh my God, I can't take that back, But what it was my truth. And so that was a really super beautiful experience. And I came back just with this supreme love for all that are doing service to mankind and all of the different ways that they were doing it. I mean, each and every one of these masters that I met were healing the sick and taking care of the poor and you name it. I mean, so many of them, they would, people don't know this, but what they do with the money they make, that people donate to them, they take care of thousands of lepers. I mean, I can't tell you how many masters that I met the lepers, people with leprosy that they would take care of and feed and house and clothe and just, oh my God, it was just like so humbling to be around them and see the service that they were doing and how they were responding, as that vessel for nature, to work through and do good for the planet.
You have a book called Your Hidden Riches, Unleashing the Power of Ritual to Create a Life of Meaning and Purpose. So in the beginning of our conversation, you mentioned that all those masters had some rituals in their morning, and you have a book on that. So what's your routine? What's your morning rituals these days, Janet?
Oh my God. I'm so glad you asked me because I love my routine. Well, the first thing I do when I get out of bed is I walk straight into the kitchen and I have And there are big rituals and little rituals. And my little ritual is I walk straight to my refrigerator. I take out a lemon and I take my lemon water, and then I go and I take a shower. And when I'm showering, I use that time while I'm showering to be in gratitude. What am I grateful for? And then after I get done with my shower and get dressed, then I go and I've been practicing transcendental meditation for over 50 years. I'm actually a teacher of transcendental meditation. And so I do my meditation program, and then I drink green drink. So I have my big rituals, my little rituals, and then I have a green drink because that's my salad, my salad for the day, which is organic spinach and organic celery and organic avocado and almond milk and a little bit of stevia and organic cucumber. And so that is absolutely a ritual. And then I either walk or I'm on my rebounder. I'm studying some knowledge during the day. I'm always chanting. I have learned, I really love chanting, which is, for those of you that aren't familiar with chanting, it's just very high vibration music that I sing. And I've learned the Hanuman Chalisa, which is...
interesting.
Yeah, Shri Guru Charana Saroja Raja. And I sing that at least 3 times a day. Nija Manu Mukuru Sudar. And the Hanuman Chalisa I love so much because Hanuman is, in India, it's, for me, he's my Ishta Devata. You know what that is, right?
Yeah.
He's a protector. And so I love the Hanuman Chalisa.
Would you mind speaking more on Hanuman Chalisa for our listeners, for our Western listeners who may not be aware of Hanuman Chalisa?
Well, yeah. For me, the Hanuman Chalisa, it's so interesting that you asked me that, because the Hanuman Chalisa is such a beautiful chant, and it's 40 verses written by Tulsidas, this one called Tulsidas. And it's all about the monkey god, Hanuman. And Hanuman, it was the protector of evil. And I love Hanuman. But what is so great, now I didn't need to know any of this, actually. I was told, Vishant, that when I was in India, one of the things that you want to do is you want to chant the Hanuman Chalisa. I was told this by some of the different masters that I met. They said, you ought to check out the Hanuman Chalisa. I mean, really, it was basically, what is the Hanuman Chalisa, and learn what it is, and then chant what it is. Actually, it was more chanted. And so even without, now this is really strange, even without understanding it, because it's in Hindi, and it's a devotional hymn, as I said, addressed to Lord Hanuman, authored by Tulsidas, who was a 16th century poet, I would chant it. I would get up in the morning at 3:00 and I started chanting it and learning it. And it's very hard because not one verse is the same. And since I don't know Hindi, that was very tough. But what I found was the Hanuman Chalisa opened my heart. And I would sit there, I would be doing this chant, singing this chant that I had no idea, what it meant. And the benefits were magnificent because I would cry. Number one, I would feel my heart. It was as if rocks were being ripped out of my heart. I don't know how else to say it. Sometimes it was really actually very hard to sing it because there was just so much going on inside of me. And I could go, oh God, it was like almost painful, like a thorn to remove the thorn. But then afterwards, I felt more courageous, more successful, more prosperous. I had so much more inner strength. It was really, really crazy. So, I think that's probably enough for the, for the layman to know about the Hanuman Chalisa. But, what I always say to people when, Nishant, in trying different things, be your own test tube, right? I shared the Hanuman Chalisa, though, with many, many people. And those that have picked it up came back to me and said, oh my God, that is the most powerful chant I've ever done. And I said, yeah, I know. So I chant the Hanuman Chalisa, and since COVID virus, right, I've really been into a lot of chanting because so many people, what I found, I came from Thailand, and the minute it hit, and ended up in the United States because everywhere else was closed that I had wanted to go. I wanted to go to Europe, but blocked. And I wanted to go to California, where I'm from, blocked, the area that I wanted to go to. So I ended up here in Fairfield, Iowa, which is the Transcendental Meditation community, a big TM community here. And I immediately became aware with my students and different people that people were in so massive fear. And I just went, no, I know that by meditation, there's a saying in the Vedas, through will, meditation, prayer, and yagya, which is ritual. Through will is the mind, through will, not letting a negative thought come in, because your thoughts are your world, right? And so through will, meditation, what does meditation do? When you have a meditation practice where you transcend your mind, which is the thinking process, to go beyond the thinking process, that's what transcendental means. When you go beyond and you experience this profound state of rest, that's the purpose of meditation. People think the purpose of meditation is to have 30 minutes to an hour worth of, God, that feels so good, I'm so this. But what it really is, the most profound reason to meditate is to undo these deep-rooted stresses in the nervous system, so that when these stresses are released, you feel lighter, happier, brighter, more rested, more peaceful from within. So through will, meditation, prayer, deep prayer, there's an actual way to pray. It's not about, hey, God, please give me this, I want. But it's more of an offering. I offer myself to you, and please show me the way. What would you have me do? It's more like what you love and God's will for you are one and the same. And when you offer yourself as a servant, as an offering to be used by God, that's when your prayers are really answered. So through will, meditation, prayer, and yagya. What is yagya? Different rituals that one can do. There are rituals that you know of in India where there are many Vedic priests that will come together, and they will have one particular prayer to, where they just do this big chant to really raise the vibration. That's a big yagya. But there are other yagyas like being in gratitude, because if you'll notice, when you're in gratitude, you can't possibly be negative. So what does gratitude do? Well, I met a man named Wahei Takeda in Japan. And Wahei was one of the most successful small business owners. And business investor, And what Wahei said, and he was like really super wealthy, he told me one day, he said, Janet, I cured myself of 2 diseases by just being in gratitude 1,000 times a day. And that made so much sense to me, Nishant, because if you notice, if you can really get into gratitude and there's a secret to being really grateful. It's not about, oh, I'm thankful for my food and I'm thankful for that, and then get on this automatic, but it's more like going deep within yourself. I'm so grateful for this food because it nourishes my body. Thank you. I'm so grateful for this water because it gives me the sustenance I need, to have clarity of mind. So it's not just enough to go, I'm thankful, but to, like a parrot, but really dive. And when you do that, what you'll notice is you snuff out any negativity. There's no room in consciousness for negativity when you're in gratitude.
Is there a right way to practice gratitude?
Yeah, I just said that's the right. Well, is there a right way to do anything? That's a very interesting question. I don't like rigidity. I'm sure that with sincerity, yes. Okay, let's say it that way. With sincerity of heart. Because you can rattle it off just like you could. How many Californians say, okay, honey, I love you. And it's more like I pass the sugar, or give me the salt. Right? It's in what the feeling, it's all about feeling. Everything is feeling because why? Because everything is energy and energy is feeling. So yes, I would say if you would say there's a correct way to anything, it's to feel what you're in gratitude of and for.
And when you speak of feeling, you remind me of Brendon Burchard. He is big on feeling things.
Oh my God. Well, because feeling is everything. Because when you're allowing the feeling level to when you're allowing that to flow, then what you're doing is it's becoming every part of your cell. Notice that, your body is taking it all in, and there's all of these different levels to yourself, right? We all know about the chakras and all of these different energy points, and that's what we're doing is we're opening and opening and opening by really letting it in through the feeling level.
If somebody has never done transcendental meditation or any other kind of meditation, what advice would you give to them?
Oh, and this is such an interesting interview when I'm a New York Times bestselling author of Passion and Mastery of Self-Love. And we're talking about this, but I love this because this is one of my passion. For anyone that is looking for a meditation practice, there are a number of things that you want to look for. Number one, time. Has it lasted over time? Because time is a good filter. Time will filter out the wannabe practices to the practices that really are working. That's number one. Number two, does it have scientific validation? I know Transcendental Meditation has had all of this research done from Harvard, Yale, Stanford, because scientifically proving something to be true is true. So that's another way you want to look for a great meditation practice, by the scientific validation and the research that has been done. And then the other thing is by the experience of the practitioners. And is that practice growing? I can only speak from Transcendental Meditation as a teacher of Transcendental Meditation, because that's the practice that I've always done, is that it's growing in leaps and bounds all over the world. There are people like Oprah Winfrey and Clint Eastwood and you name it, they're doing it. And, so that says Ellen DeGeneres, it's working. It's working. And also, is it effortless? Is it an effortless, easy practice so that you're not doubting your experience? And is it taught in a very systematic way? A system, the acronym for system, save yourself time, energy, and money. So this is what I would look for if it were me. I would look for a practice, and I would look in the eyes of the practitioners, because light is shown through the eyes. You know this, because when I looked in your eyes, Nishant, there was a lot of light through today, man. I felt like I was looking at a light bulb. So, these are the different things that one would like to look for if you're looking for a practice. That's what I would say. And also, practice, they're all good practices have their value. And yet, contemplation is contemplating, you're still staying on the surface of the mind. Concentrating on a candle, right? It's still staying on the surface of the mind. You want a practice where you transcend or go beyond, go within the thinking process. It's an inside-out job. In the Vedas, there's this beautiful saying, curving back on myself, I create again and again. Curving back on myself, I create again and again. For each and every one of us, and for all of you listening, why is it that the world seems so different? Two men can stand on a mountain and one can look out and go, oh my God, see the perfection in everything. And the other one can go, oh my God, the world, it's this terroristic experience. What is the difference? Knowledge is structured in consciousness. Knowledge is structured in consciousness. The world is as you are. And we can only see the world through our own filter. And so why the importance of meditation is why it's so important. And I always tell everyone, if you don't have a meditation practice, it's like not getting a tune-up and driving your car all over the world, right? You wouldn't do that. You'd get a tune-up. But what do? We drive this physical body all over the place without giving it the rest it needs. And when you transcend, what you're doing is you're getting such a profound state of rest that you could say that your nervous system was analogous to a rope that was tied up all tied up, right? And so what happens when you have deep, profound rest, and now the rest you get in meditation, a really profound meditation practice from transcending, is very, very different than the rest from sleep. Sleep gets rid of, the residue of the day before. But what a deep practice like transcendental meditation does is it gets rid of these deep-rooted stresses that are lodged in the nervous system, stress from maybe getting in a car accident or someone dying or being bullied all your life or sexually, abused, things like that like really compound it. And when you get this state of rest, science has found that the rest gained and I'm only going to talk about transcendental meditation,
yes,
but
please.
Any meditation practice where you transcend or go beyond the thinking process is transcendental. I just want to make that clear. But when you transcend, what happens is these deep knots in the nervous system start to be released. All of us are powerful. All of us have the library of the universe within us. I have sat, Nishant, with masters who, when you ask them a question, they know the answer, and it can be about anything. Why? Because they're open to the field of that all possibilities that live within us. Maharishi used to say it's impossible to go into a library and learn in your lifetime all of the knowledge that's there. And so what he would say to us is capture the fort of pure knowledge which is within you. And so then when you do that, when you are releasing this stress every day, you become more of your true self, which is what? Which is why that one master said to me, you are not the body. Because we aren't the body. We're unbounded. We're pure consciousness. We're pure awareness. We have within us all knowledge. Now, why is it again? One person can stand on the mountaintop and say, oh my God, do you see the perfection of the universe? Because what is the difference between an enlightened and an unenlightened? Is that the enlightened know everything's perfect as it should be. Everything, every moment. There are no mistakes. Everything is just as it should be. The other thing is they are tapped in and open to that unbounded field of awareness so that at any moment, and no matter what's going on, they can tap into that pure knowledge. And so for all of us, it's so important to value this human body. There's this beautiful, I'm just going to say a little bit of this quote by Maharishi's master, Swami Brahmananda Saraswati Jagadguru of Jyotirmath, otherwise known as Gurudev. And what Gurudev said was to get a human body is a rare thing. And if you don't value this, then you have sold a diamond at the price of spinach. So, in other words, what you put your attention on is so important. You can either put your attention on, okay, how do I look today? And, I've got to figure out how to spend all my life getting everybody to love me. Or you can capture the fort, as Maharishi would say, of pure knowledge and enjoy 200% of life, both inner and outer. Inner and outer, all of us have the possibility of really standing on the mountaintop and seeing the perfection in everything. Mm-hmm. It's just, where are you putting your attention in the day, and what are you doing? Every moment matters. Every single moment matters.
Can we cultivate the art of self-love through transcendental meditation?
Well, yes, absolutely. Because why? Because, one of the things, and I remember giving these lectures on transcendental meditation, we would talk about your relationships. Your relationships get better. Well, why? Because stress Stress blocks the ability to really be open. Open to what? Open to your own love within yourself, and therefore the love of others. Because why? I meet no one but me. The world is as you are. So if you're not kind and loving to you, then you're going to treat that other, whoever you're around, how you treat you. That's the way it works. I meet no one but me. Because why? Because how you treat you, you will treat everyone. So when you meditate, what happens? When you meditate, you transcend. When you transcend, you get a profound state of rest. When you get a profound state of rest, you start releasing stress. When you start releasing stress, you become more of what? More of what Maharishi would call the natural, real human being. We came into this world as love, and then we got stressed, right? As I talked about. Maybe you got in a car accident. Maybe your parents hated you. Maybe you were bullied all your life. Something happened. And we started to veil because of all this stress. We started to block our heart. So what meditation does is it's this beautiful way of taking off the veils in such a beautiful, effortless way.
What are some of the other ways to cultivate the mastery of self-love?
I am so happy you asked me that, because I teach a course on mastery of self-love. And I always say, okay, if I only had one thing I could do, if God said, he or she said, you only get to keep one thing that you do in your day, it would be my meditation practice, number one. That's a practice of self-love. It's me for me, but me for everyone, right? As I was saying, right. When I love me, I love you. Think about it. How you go about your day. When you're open, you love everyone. When you're not open, get out of your way, right? No one wants to be in that. So in Mastery of Self-Love, I share different practices on how can you love yourself? How can you come back to your natural state? You see, we came into the world as love, as I was saying. We came in like, I am love. That's our nature. It's unnatural not to get on a bus and want to hug everybody. That's unnatural, but the opposite has become natural, right? Not to talk to anybody, look down, don't connect. Why? Because we've gotten so far away from that pure essential nature of who we are. Because when we're open, then we look at the other, and how can we not love the other? When you're loving yourself, you love the other. So one of the things that I do, one of my practices, there's so many different ways that I work with people, but one of them is I have them look at their inner critic. And so we use the practice of will. Remember, I said through will, meditation, prayer, and yajna, one can change the course of time. So I use all of these different practices in self-mastery, my Mastery of Self-Love program. So one of them is to look at your inner critic. Now, let me ask you, actually, here's a practice that would be really fun to do with you. I want you to think, and all of you, think of one person in your life that, oh my God, I love that person. Okay, Nishant, I want you to think of one person in your life. Okay, can you think of a person? Oh, every time you think of them, love, love, love.
Do you have to speak?
Yeah. No, don't tell me who that person is. But I want you to tell me a quality of that person, like, oh, they're so beautiful, or they're so open, or they're so kind, or they're so sweet, please. They're so patient.
Super duper kind.
Kind. Okay, that's one. Give me another.
Compassionate.
Give me another.
Not thinking about themselves, only in the service to others.
Selfless, right?
Yeah, selfless.
Okay, give me one more.
Loving.
Okay, great. Now, I want you to think of that same person. Now, I hope you didn't do a guru. Did you do a guru?
No.
Okay, good. I'm really glad you didn't, because that's not fair. Okay, now I want you to think of that same person, and all of you, I want you to think of that same person. And Nishant, when that person is, off and bothering you, what don't you really appreciate about them? Come on, and now don't be spiritual, okay? Because we know there is always that other moment. Got it?
Yes, always.
Okay, so give me one quality that they are.
That they don't understand. Or
Okay. They don't understand. What else? Come on, spill the
first is that they don't understand, and second is I'm trying to visualize that person right now. Then
are they obstinate or stubborn? Sometimes, do they, right?
Sometimes their way is the highway.
Oh, their way is the highway. Okay, not flexible, right?
Not flexible, yes.
That's it. Okay, what else? Come on.
Not letting me live my life the way I want.
Oh, controlling, right?
Yeah.
Okay, one more. Good. Now you're getting it. One more.
Too much loving.
Oh, too much loving. Okay, all right. Now, Nishant, let me ask you one thing about you, okay?
Please.
Are you kind?
Yes.
Are you compassionate?
I think yes.
Are you selfless?
To the most extent.
Are you loving?
To the most extent.
Sometimes can you not understand others?
Yeah, absolutely.
Sometimes can you be inflexible?
A lot of times.
Sometimes do you find yourself controlling?
At times, yes.
I know, you're so busted. And sometimes too much loving.
Yes, in the past relationships. Yes.
Yeah. Okay, so there you go. So there's no one out there. Everyone is just a reflection of ourselves. What we love about the other, we love about ourselves. What we don't love about the other has nothing to do with the other. The universe is so efficient that every moment matters. So God, nature, higher power, the universe, whatever name you want to put to that energy that is greater than yourself, has created this life to be a cosmic setup to show us what we haven't come to a place of peace and understanding with ourselves. So let me ask you something, Nishant. Are you always doing your very best that you can?
Before I answer that, I would like to tell my listeners that this is not a therapy session between me and Janet. And now, yes, I can answer that.
Are you always noticing that no, this is for everybody. It's a question for all of you. Are you all doing the very best you can?
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. We all are. If we could do any better, we'd do it. But whatever we're doing right now is our very best. So our job is to now be kind to ourselves. This is a self-love practice. If the world is as you are, then the only job that instead of focusing on what someone else isn't, your job is to focus on how can I be more kind and loving to my judgments about myself. And those judgments, my love, are your inner critic.
Can I ask you something very personal?
Absolutely.
Do you still have that inner critic at times?
Oh my God, are you kidding me? I always tell my students, run as fast as you can if you have a mentor who says, I'm here, way up here, and you're down here, and, hopefully someday you'll reach my potential. Right? I always feel that the one who is the teacher is the one teaching it because they're the ones who need it the most. Otherwise, they wouldn't be teaching it. The universe doesn't play tricks. Every moment matters. So absolutely, there's not one thing that I can't find that I haven't been, or that, or that I haven't worked on at some point in time in my life. And I still can find those moments. Who can't? Welcome to humanity. When we're walking on water, then you can say, oh, who, me? No, right? Absolutely. I'm a work in progress, and I am so proud of it. And I think it's really important for transformational leaders to really be true transformation leaders to the students and say, look, There's no mistakes. We've come together. I'll ask you this. If two men come together and one has a cup of gold and one has a cup of water, but the one who has the gold needs the water and the one who has the water needs the gold, and they exchange, who got more? That's the way nature works. They both got maximum. They got exactly what they need. So for everyone listening, don't compare yourself to anyone, because when you compare, you die. And just know that, you choose a mentor because that mentor has been there, done that, right? Most likely, whatever you're going through, they've gone through that minefield, and they can help you to get through it a lot easier than they did. But run as fast as you can from anyone who says, I am the perfected human being and hope you someday can get to my level. No, we're all here learning in earnest. And life is about learning. And so humility is, the ego is the only thing that gets in the way of anyone being able to be an awakened human being. It's the last thing to go. And so never set yourself up to be that enlightened one. Enlightenment is grace. It's a gift. And may we all stand in the fire of our own discomfort and let our ego die.
I would like to tell our listeners that you, Janet, received the World Peace Flame Award from the Life Foundation International for your work in promoting peace. So does peace come to you naturally, or do you have to work at it?
Well, it depends on what you come in as, how you come in, right? If you're someone who's really super angry, remember the world is as you are, and you're going to spread that little fire all over it until you work with it, right? Until you do your own inner work. So a peaceful person will create a peaceful world. It's that simple. And this is what I know. And this is why I practice what I practice. I'm always doing my rituals so that I can be the very best Janet that I can possibly be. And what I'm not, I'm okay with, right? There's no judgment here. I know I'm always doing my very best. So I don't put pain on pain. I'm not hard on me, because I understand, again, that how I treat me, I treat everyone. So,
Janet, what are you grateful for today?
Oh, my love. I'm grateful that I got to share my passion, which is all of this, with your audience, and to be with someone so beautifully awake like you. I'm just in gratitude. Thank you for that. And thank you for this. Every question you asked me was profound. So I hope it worked for you, but that's not my business.
No expectations. So, Janet, what's your most critical need?
Oh my God, I can't believe you asked me that. I mean, most people never ask that. I mean, do you know that when you ask the question, what's your most critical need? That's the number one way to help someone. And in my world, people are always coming to me, Nishant, saying, will you write the foreword to my book? Will you write something in my book? Will you be in my movie? Will you do my podcast? Will you be part of my blog? Will you go to my, be the speaker for my seminar? But what they forget is that person has a million people coming to them asking them for something. And it's that one smart person that finds out or asks, what is your most critical need? Because when you do that, you've tapped in to that person's, whatever their most critical need is, means that if that critical need is fulfilled, that's gonna supercharge their life to another level if that critical need is fulfilled. So thank you for asking that, because if you could fulfill my most critical need, then even though hundreds of people come to me and ask me for something, you've hooked into me emotionally, because my most critical need is very emotional. And what that's going to want me to do is go, well, it's this. And then I'm going to go, and what's yours? Got it? And that's what's called. And if I can fulfill your most critical need, and you can fulfill mine. We've created what I call an enlightened alliance.
Wow. Thank you.
Where when two people come together, this is a quote from my master Maharishi, when two people come together to give maximum, both receive maximum.
That is super awesome. Before I ask you my last question, since we are running short on time, what's the impact you want to leave on this world?
That I was a deeply loving person. That's it. That Janet was just a love, right? Anything more than that, Janet was awake to herself. That is enough.
That is super wonderful. And my last question to you is, where can our listeners learn more about you?
Oh, thank you so much. Well, you can go to my Passion Test website and it'll say upcoming courses. I do all kinds of mentoring and, private classes and big things online. So you can go to www.thepassiontest, like in test at school. It's the only test, though, that you'll never fail. It's about finding your passion. www.thepassiontest.com. And thank you for that.
Thank you so much, Janet. It was amazing, passionate, enlightenment conversation with you. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Thank you for your service to humanity. Thank you.
Thank you for listening to this podcast episode today. If you did enjoy this, please subscribe to this podcast on Apple Podcast, or you can visit https://nishantgarg.me. NISHANTGARG.me. You can also share this episode with your loved ones to help them live a fulfilled life. You are not alone in this journey. We all struggle in life. There is no shame in talking about it. I go through my highs and lows. I get depressed, and these practices help me in living a resilient life. You can also do this. You got this. Don't judge yourself. You are doing the best you can. And thank you so much again.